Hi guys, welcome back. We are on, I believe, part 4. So where we left off, we had just covered our cover and we had started covering flaps A or pockets A and B. And so we are going to just pick right up where we left off. So let's open this one up. This is our sample. This little pad of paper that I put in this journal was kind of an afterthought. I thought, what am I going to do with this decorative thing here? And I could have added a pocket, but I decided, I want to add a notepad. But I had already glued it down, so I couldn't really do the type of notepad I wanted. So in this journal, we're going to do this just a little bit different. This one I glued on directly, so it's not really refillable, but I thought it'd be fun if we made this one refillable. So that's what we're going to do first on this. We're going to create this little notepad and have it slide in and out and be refillable. So again, we have pockets A and B for the front of our journal. So here is A, the back of A. Let's set that off to the side. We don't need it. Here is B. This is the front of B. This is the back of B, B2. I'm going to set this off to the side, and we're only going to work with the front part of B, this part right here. I'm also going to set our cover out of the way. Okay, let's take some quick measurements. Let's see. My chair is so squeaky. I don't know if that picks up on camera or not. We are about 4 inches across. I think I want to go to about 3 3/4. And let's stick to about 6 1/4. I'm going to write that down because I have a terrible memory. I have a terrible memory. Again, what was it? 3 3/4. All right, writing that down over here. 3 3/4 by 6 1/4. Okay, my chair is not so squeaky as it is groany and creaky. Oh, I am so sorry for that. So I dug up a few things to help us in this little venture. One of the things I dug up was a really lightweight piece of cardboard. This is like what you would find on the back of a paper pad, which is exactly what this is. I pulled it off the back of an old scrapbooking paper pad. So I'm going to first trim that to the size that we were wanting, which was 3 3/4 by 6 1/4. 3 3/4 by 6 1/4. And I see hubby has just pulled in the driveway, so it's probably be just a few minutes and he'll be knocking on my door out here. All right, I'm trimming this off camera and my thing is kind of big. 3 3/4 inches wide. 3 3/4. And 6 1/4 inches tall, which unless I unfold my paper trimmer, I can't see that measurement on my paper trimmer, so I'm going to mark it with my ruler. 6 1/4, guys. That's what I said. That's what I said. Bunny bread. All right. So there we go. There's our little piece of cardboard. And what we're going to do with that, that's going to be the little back of our memo pad. Now we need some paper to go along with it. So here's where your lined paper comes in. This is the lined paper. I told you about this in the first video, I believe it was. This is the lined paper that's in my B kit, that's in my Etsy shop. You don't have to use that. Just use some lined paper from a notebook or plain paper, coffee dyed paper, decorative paper, whatever you want to use. Just gather up some paper and we're going to cut all of it to fit our memo pad size. So you're going to cut you a little stack of paper about, I don't know, 8, 10 pages, however much you think your stapler can hold. You don't want to get too thick because it is going to have a flap over the top, and if you get too thick, you don't want this to not lay down flat. You know what I mean? So, yeah, a little bit thin. I'm going to put probably 10 pages in mine. I'm going to cut them all to the same size as my back, as my cardboard back. Okay, I'm going to do 10 sheets, 3 3/4 by 6 1/4. See you in a minute. Okay, so I've cut my papers, my lined papers, and now it's time to put these together. And so I think what I used here was just a piece of yellow paper I had. Actually, it was some of this yellow paper. See how it's pearlescent? I have some of this paper. Lisa sent it to me a long time ago, and so I put some of it in this journal. So that was just a little snippet of that. This is a little piece of yellow cardstock I had in my basket of papers. So it's nothing fancy, just a scrap piece of cardstock. I'm sure you have some of that laying around. And if you don't have any scrap laying around, then just hold off on doing this part till you get some scrap decorative papers as we go along. We'll be making plenty of scrap. All right, so what you just saw me do there is, let me see, about a 1/2 inch. My 1/2 inches are always pretty big. It's a little bigger than a 1/2 inch. It doesn't matter. Just fold some over. Okay, that's just going to be our little decorative part right here. Okay, so I folded it over and then I just rolled it over again. Okay, so took my cardstock. Let me zoom you down. And folded over about a 1/2 inch. Used my bone folder so I get a nice crisp edge. Fold it over a 1/2 inch again. Bone folder, nice crisp edge. Okay. All right. Now what I want to do is see that doubled over part. That's going to go over my paper like that. And the reason I folded it over twice is it gives us a, I don't know, kind of a nice clean folded edge right there. And we are just going to attach it to our little notebook like so. Or I'm just holding it on there because I can't remember what my measurement was. I've moved my piece of paper. I think it was 3 3/4, but I didn't want to cut it wrong, so. So I just thought I would cut that to fit. Pretty sure it was 3 3/4. Very good. Okay. So we are going to want the back part. Let me zoom us up. This cardboard part, we are going to want that to be able to slide down in and come back out. So we only want, see how I'm doing there? I'm lifting that up. We only want to staple right there. Find my stapler. Here it is. And that's a little bit too long. So I'm going to trim this off just a little bit. I really don't need hardly anything right there. Okay. Put back on my paper. I haven't done this in a while because remember I didn't do that one this way. All right. Turn it over, Dawn, so you can see what you're doing. Goodness gracious. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. And then this is the part that's going to slide down into my pockets. So I'm actually just going to glue, I could glue it on the outside. I'm going to glue it on the inside like that. I'm sure some of you who've done this before have your own method for making a little refillable memo pad like this. So just go ahead and do yours that way. Sorry, I have one of those glue snot balls on my fingers from that bottle and I can't get it off. All right. Use whatever glue works for you. I am using Beacon 3-in-1, which is very similar to Beacon Fabri-Tac or Fabri-Fix if you want to know what glue I'm using, but please use the glue that you want to use the most. Okay, here comes hubby. I'll pause. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so there's our little notepad. Now we have to figure out how it goes inside. All right, so the way I've done it in the past, let me grab my big crocodile. Okay, I have that, or should have a hole punch here somewhere. Either should work fine. I don't really want to have too big of holes. Let me see the size of this one. Yeah, that's not bad. But a regular sized hole punch. This one, that's a little bit bigger than what I'd like to have. So I think I will use, check the size on this one. Yeah, I'm going to use my crocodile. My bigger setting on my crocodile makes a perfect sized hole. So before I make my holes though, I'm going to line this up about where I want it to be when it's slid in place. Okay, so I've got it in place. I'm holding it still. I'm just going to hold down the back part, flip forward my notepad, because all I want to do is mark. And I'm going to need to glue this onto the back, so I think I want to leave myself just a little bit more room than that. Slide this up. Yep, that will work. Okay, so I need to go from here to over here. Okay, I'm just marking the width of my notebook on my paper. Okay, and these are pencil lines, so I can erase them. I'm going to zoom you down. I'm just marking the width of my paper pad on my paper. Okay, and then I think as long as my slot starts about anywhere around here, I mean, you can even go that high, but it doesn't need to. Anywhere around here. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way. Find my ruler. And I'm just going to measure up and see how far that was. That was about, let's see. That was about 6 5/8 or 6 1/4. Let's say 6 1/4. I'll move it down just a hair. 6 1/4 from the bottom. So where that crossed my line, right there, where those crisscrossed, that line right there, that was my 6 1/4 from the bottom. Where it crossed, I just made a little circle, okay? That way I know where to punch. And then 6 1/4 from the bottom on this side. It's to ensure that my line is nice and straight so that my notepad isn't in there wonky. Okay, 6 1/4 right there. That's where it crosses the line. See, it made that little crisscross. So I'm just going to put a circle right over the intersection of those. And that's where I know I want to put my hole. I'm going to go ahead and punch that right where I marked the hole. And mark it over on this side where I marked the hole. Okay. So now I have 2 holes, which I can then connect with a slot. So let me grab my cutting surface. I want to cut a hole in my work, or cut a line in my work surface. Grab a little razor knife here, and hopefully you can see where the hole is right here. See that? Okay, right there. My other hole is over here. And I'm just going to line my ruler up on about just right around the center of those holes. I really wish you could see this a little bit better, but it will make sense after. So I'm only going to cut from hole to hole. Okay, and then I'm going to slide my ruler down just a smidgen, and we're talking smidgen, like 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch at the most. And we're going to cut with our knife again, just from hole to hole. And then because we've made 2 lines or 2 cuts, ideally we would have a slot, but apparently my first line didn't go all the way through. So let me do it one more time. I'm just going back to the very first line I made. This must be a really dull craft knife. Okay. Yes, I would venture to say this one is incredibly dull. Okay, I would not advocate freehanding, but I'm really getting tired of messing with this on camera. So that ultimately looks like poo-poo, but hopefully yours will look a little better than mine. But you get the idea here. Okay, so now you can see I've cut a slot from hole to hole. Okay, and that will allow us to put our notebook down inside. Okay, let me back up my camera just a hair so I'm not so in your face. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Let me grab the rest of my pocket. Whatever did I do with it? That is B, right? That is B. Okay. So that's going to go on there like that. This won't go down so far like this when we have it glued on, because the glue band down here is going to stop it. Okay, you'll see in a minute. All right, so the next thing that I did on mine is I wanted all of my pockets to look like they were sewn, like I had sewn them on. So I did that on this one, and essentially I did it on every pocket so that they look like they're sewn on. Okay, but I didn't want to actually sew them on. I didn't really want to sew through all those layers. It was way too many layers to sew through. So in order to make this look like it's sewn on, I'm just going to stitch down the side, across the bottom, and back up on this piece only. Okay, so just on this top piece, this B1 piece that we've been messing with, I'm just going to stitch down the side, across the bottom, and back up the side. Okay, and I'll come right back. Aha! Tricked you. I bet you did not expect me to be over here at my sewing machine. But I thought, well, on camera one time I will run one of these pieces through the sewing machine just for the fun of it. But it is a pain to set it all up over here, so this will be the one and only time. Anyway, I am set on a straight stitch. You can use a zigzag or something funky if you want to, and I am going to purposely sort of not make my stitches straight. The reason for doing that is some of my papers. Let's see if I can find one. Some of these pink papers. See how they have the bees here and the little bee trails? They're flight trails, but it also looks like stitching and it's kind of crazy. I'm going to purposely not make mine straight. I mean, they'll be straight-ish, but not crazy. All right, and I'm running this off my hand. Here we go. I'm just kind of letting it be a little wayward at times. I'm going to stop just from the edge, lift and turn. sewing machine I am using today, in case you're interested, is my old Sears Kenmore. Actually, I don't even know if they were Sears Kenmore at that time or just Kenmore. Can't quite remember when this sewing machine's from, but it is a vintage machine. It's not antique, not by any means antique, but I guess it's now vintage. It's definitely retro. I do not own a newer sewing machine. My other favorite is my Singer. It's from the late 70s maybe. My daughter's sewing machine that's at our house, here at our house, that we use, is from the late 50s, I think. And then I have my great-grandmother's from the 30s. So we like our older sewing machines. See, there we go. Okay, now I'll see you back in a minute at the table. Okie dokie. Now, next step is we're going to work on the back of our pocket. That was B2. Okay, that's the one we put the book page on the back of. So if you want to make yours look like mine, the paper I used for that is the honeycomb paper. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be putting back there on mine. And the honeycomb paper I used also on the inside of our flap here. So I'm going to pull out that used piece. There's no reason to start a new piece for that. And I am going to cut that to fit. Now, because this is a pocket, I do not feel like I need to go all the way down back here. There's no reason to cover this entire thing with paper. So I'm only going to go maybe about, probably I'll make it come past the slot right here. So I don't know, about like that, which is, I'll give you a measurement. I'm only going to do about 3.5 inches. Okay, about 3.5 inches is all I'm going to do. I'm going to cover that, and then I'm going to come back. If you want to see how I cut this precisely, make sure you go back and catch that in a prior video. I believe that is in part 3. Yes, part 3. I show you how I do my precise measuring and cutting for that. Okay, so I've glued the yellow on the back there, but I have not glued this to this yet. And the reason for that is because this flap is going to be glued in it. And so I want to be able to slide this in here and glue it all together, but I want to cover this surface first. So that's what we're going to work on. So I'm going to set these off to the side. This was pocket B and it's all finished now. And I'm going to set our little memo pad off to the side. And now we're going to work with pocket A and A1 and A2. Okay, so let's look at A1. And let's bring in that honeycomb paper that we just used again. Now, when I cut this piece here, I was real careful just to cut out the rectangle only that I needed, not waste a bunch of the paper. So if we cut carefully, we won't use too much. If we use it sparingly, then you can get quite a bit out of one paper pad. Okay, so we're just going to use that yellow paper to cover pocket A. Okay, that's what I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to probably move this around and see how I can get it to cover the best, so as not to waste any paper. So I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to do that on camera because you already know how to do it because you watched the video before this one. So I'm going to do my precise cutting method for the yellow, just the yellow. Okay. I'm also going to run that top piece, this one here, through my sewing machine down, over, and up. Okay, just like I did in the last one. Okie dokie, all inked up, glued on and sewn on. I forgot to tell you that make sure your glue is dry before you run this through your sewing machine. You really don't want to gob up your needle and bobbin and machine and all that. So anyway, the next thing we're going to do now is this back part here, the back of part A, which would be part A2, and we are going to cover that in our pinkish paper. It has the bees on it. If you are using the same paper kit as I am, then you'll want to get out this one. We haven't used it yet. So, gonna cut this to fit and ink it up and all that. See you in a minute. Okay, so I think we are ready to assemble our pockets. So the first thing we're going to want to do is glue this one down to that one. So this is A. And I am just gluing down the side. You can trim those extra threads if you don't want to. Some people like kind of having that look. I'm going to leave them and somebody else can decide that for me. All right, so we're just gluing down the sides and the bottom, not the top. And I made sure when I did the sewing that I only sewed down the sides and the bottom, because if you sew across the top, then it looks like you've sewn your pocket closed. Or it does to me anyway. And I have a hard enough time without sewing the pocket closed. All right. I just like the look. That makes it really look like you've sewn the pocket on. And we get that look without having to sew through all those layers. Okay. Now, fun part. This is going to be sandwiched between the top and the bottom of B. So we're sandwiching the flap between top and bottom of B. And I'm going to make their bottoms match so that when they are laying on the top of our journal, they look like that. So, all right, set that one off to the side. I'm going to take this one here and I'm just going to put glue down the front side of the flap. And I'm matching the bottoms. And I just want to make sure that when it's closed, it kind of matches up side to side. Okay. Depending on what glue you're using, you may need to let that sit for a minute. Okay. That looks great. Now we're ready for this one. Again, we're just going to go down the side, across the bottom, and back up. I've got quite a glue yucky thing there. I'm keeping pretty close to the edges. I don't want to get in the way of where my little notepad's going to slide down in there. If you decided not to do a notepad on yours and you just want to leave it as just a plain old pocket, then you still don't want to get glue in the middle because then you can't slide anything in the pocket. want to make sure everything functions. Okay, and then you would probably want to let this sit for a minute to dry before you go shoving your Memo pad down in there. But that is where that would go. So you just slide that on down in there after it dries, okay? Because don't do it right now. You don't want to accidentally shove this all the way down inside there and then get glue on the bottom of this and then end up gluing it, you know, and end up drying in there. So I'm just going to set this off to the side. We'll add it back in later after our glue dries, okay? But now you have the Memo pad that slides in here. And then this is still a functional pocket as well. Whatever tag you put in here will slide right down in behind the notepad, okay? So that is the front, okay? And then this set of flaps or flips I should say, or pockets, those are going to glue in here on our cover. So let's go ahead and bring our cover in. And this was the inside of our cover. This is the outside of our cover. And we haven't glued them together yet. So what I'm going to do is wipe my glue bottle off again. I got Mount Vesuvius happening. I'm just going to put some glue on this flap. Aren't these flaps handy? Okay. I'm just sliding it down into there, all the way to the bottom. I'm just going to fold it over so I make sure I've got it in the correct spot. Okay, and notice I only put glue on one side of my flap. I did not put glue on both sides because I don't want to glue this shut. That's going to be my little side pocket, okay? What I can glue is the top shut up here. So see, our side pocket had our little side journal in it, okay? All right. So I only put glue on one side of the flap. And now we can put glue just over here on this panel. Maybe. And I'm only putting a small thin strip of glue up at the top. I want to leave myself plenty of room in my side pocket. I didn't put it over here where the spine is or over here, just over here. That's that left panel. Okay, so when that dries, you'll have this nice little side pocket here, and you've got your flips. All right, and then I'm going to pause for a minute. We're going to come back and we're going to do the front. Okay, sorry about that. I had to pause for a minute because I couldn't find any more of that burlappy stuff, and I needed to do some deep digging, and I didn't find any more. So this little bit here was all there was, but I did scrounge up a piece of this lace stuff. That'll work. Piece of fabric, cheesecloth, anything. You don't have to put anything back there. That's up to you. I just wanted to make mine just like the first one I made, but I guess that's not going to happen. This one's going to have lace, and it's going to have a removable notepad. This one gets burlap and a non-removable notepad. How's that? All right, I'm opening up my little baggie of chipboard elements that came in that kit. And if you didn't catch that in the first 3 videos, then, well, you weren't paying attention. No, I'm just kidding. I'm using Paper Studio Papercrafting kit. It's the Bees Papercrafting kit, 202-6300. It'll be in the description box below on this video and all the others before that. So I am going to get some book page, and I'm just going to tear some. I like that torn look. Maybe you want to cut yours square. Doesn't matter to me, however you want to do it. Yeah, that's about the right size. Okay, I'm just going to ink that. I like that layered look. And you could add a whole bunch of layers on the front there. Make your cover look the way you want. Make it individual. Okay. Glue that down. And this will probably be the last thing we do for today. At this rate, it seems like we're going to have a 16 video series. I hope not. But I'm with you till the end, guys. I'm with you till the end. I'm with you. Even if it takes 12 videos to get it done. We're in this together. I know, that was a bit dramatic. I'm a little goofy. I had a lot of coffee today. A lot. I'm not going to disclose how much coffee I had. All right. I am using a little sanding block. I get these over at Dollar General, I think it is, for, I think they're $1 a piece. And I just like to keep some handy in my craft room. They have a couple different grits on them. One's a coarser and one's a finer grit. And to me, they're just handier to keep hold of than sandpaper. Because you can find it and it doesn't get all wrinkly. And anyway, so yeah, I just like to keep a couple of them laying around. And you don't have to sand your embellishments if you don't want to, but I just like that distressed look. I don't want it to look all shiny and new. And now I'm even going to ink it a little bit. Yeah, see? Just like that. All right. I'm going to layer some of that behind it. These are my little teeny tiny Tim Holtz scissors that I got for Christmas from Lisa. She got me a bigger pair too. These little ones are just cute as can be. And man, these are sharp. Do not get these close to your finger. They will cut you. I know from experience. All right, we're going to glue that on there. I just don't know if I'm digging that. I really want that to be, it just doesn't pop the way the brown burlap does, you know? You know, guys, I don't think I'm going to glue that on yet. I think I'm going to look and see if I can find something else. Even if I find a piece of brown fabric and I fray it out, then I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to hold off on gluing mine down. You guys go ahead and glue yours down if you want to. If you want to, sorry, I talk like a Hoosier. Flip this open. This should now be dry enough to put our little notepad in. Slide that down the back. There we go. How about that? Hey, Lisa, I'm talking to you. How about that? All right, and then one last little embellishment before we go. I'm going to open up my little pad of stickers here. You also don't have to do this. But I just thought it was really cute that on that very first sheet of paper, when I flip this open, there's a little matching flower that matches the paper right there. So I didn't obviously, you know, have one to put on every page, but I don't know. I just wanted that little extra touch. So I'm actually cutting my sticker. I cut the bottom off of it, squared it up here, bring my little paper trimmer in, and I'm actually going to trim just a little bit off the side too. And the reason for that is so that it will, I didn't quite get that square. It will match up in the corner of my paper. My hands are kind of icky. feel like I've got sandy stuff on them from my sanding block. I'm gonna use my little tweezers. Well, come on, sticker. We'll just try unsticking the sticker in a different spot. You know, I had my glasses on. Then I took my glasses off. And then I'm trying to do something where I need my glasses again. Ta-da! There we go. That looks cute. Doesn't that look cute? Okay. That's it for today, guys. I will be back in the next video where I will, by that time, hopefully found something that I want to put behind that little embellishment there on the front. So, till I see you guys next time, happy crafting. Bye.